Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Gunatito Aksharam Brahma Bhagavan Purushottamaha Jano Janannidam Satyam Uchyate Bhavabandhanat. Om Shri Sajananda Swami Maharajaya Namaha, Shri Swami Narayanaya Namaha, Shri Lakshmi Narayanaya Namaha, Shri Narnarayanaya Namaha, Shri Krishna Narayanaya Namaha, Shri Shiva Narayanaya Namaha, Shri Badri Narayanaya Namo Namaha. Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Namah Shivaya, 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 Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 21st of November 2022. We are continuing our exploration of Shri Vivekchudamani, which is a scripture written by Adi Jagadguru Shankaracharya ji. So along those lines, we are continuing for several days at least on verse number 65. Verse number 65 is like so many other verses where Shankaracharya ji is again emphasizing and teaching how to realize the Atma, the Brahman. So the point he's making in this verse is that we need to dig into our inner world. It is an analogy that like a $1 billion diamond is 1 mile underneath the ground. You have to dig and remove all the stones and the dirt and everything else, and then that diamond is obtained. Similarly, we are that, but how to do that? What is the method of doing that? What is necessary for doing that? So yesterday we started talking just about this very first word, and that is apto kitam, which simply means that the instructions, the teachings given by gurus. And I want to go further into this today. What exactly is meant by that? See, in the history of the world, really, there has always been Guru Shishya Parampara. Guru Shishya Sambandha, Guru Shishya Parampara. Because each Jivatma, each human being that comes into this world always has to have Guru. We come without any active knowledge. So that active knowledge is obtained from the society, from the parents, from other people, etc. So as far as spiritual realization is concerned, the realization of the Atma itself, to actually realize that, the great sages who are known as Brahmavid. So Shankaracharya ji does use this word here. It is Brahmavid, means the knower of the Brahman and one who is showing the path of how to realize this. So we have talked about this to some extent already. So a couple of basic points to keep in mind. When we use the word Guru, what does that word mean? I think we probably know. Guru. Gu refers to ignorance, darkness, misperception, delusion. That is wrong understanding. That is called Gu. And Ru is that divine light, Divya Prakash. Ru is that enlightened state. So all of life, this life that we have in this human body, is a transition from ignorance into enlightenment. Another way of putting it, as some have put it this way, that it is a transition from limitation into the unlimited infinite reality. That's another way to realize this. So the Atma Tattva is Sat Chit Anand. So let's just be clear about some of the terminology. Okay, so we have the word Guru, then we have the word Satguru. So Gurus can be many, obviously. In fact, in the broader sense, anybody who teaches us anything, we learn anything from anybody, that becomes Guru for that moment, or in that way, for that reason. Now the word Satguru is made up of two words, Sat plus Guru. So what is that Sat? That is Atma. That is Atma and Paramatma. So that is Satya. Satya means that which is eternally existing. That which is beyond the changing reality, that is Satyam. Okay, so Satguru, and when we combine the two words, that becomes Sadguru. So Sadguru or Sat plus Guru is Sadguru is a being like Adi Jagat Guru Shankaracharya Ji and so many others. These are beings that are manifesting here from the Brahman. They are always in the Brahman, but they have taken a human form for the purpose of showing the path back into the Brahman. So if you look at the lineage in Sanatana Dharma, particularly since we're talking about that, there are so many Guru Paramparas. Many Sampradayas, many Guru Paramparas, many paths. And there is not just one book, one Guru, one path. It's not like that. That is the beauty and the glory of what we call Sanatana Dharma. In reality, all the other religions can also be added into Sanatana Dharma. So that there's no division with anybody. So, because there is not just one book, just one path, there are multiple paths. There are multiple gurus that have been present. But the Upanishad says very clearly that the ultimate reality, the Brahman, you can say Para-Brahman, we won't go into that distinction right now, Brahman, Para-Brahman, all that what is the difference? But that which is God, that which is beyond the limitations, that is one. So the Aitreya Upanishad, I'll give you a small reference here. In the Aitreya Upanishad, it is written, which is one of the big Upanishads, very important Upanishad, that Brahman is the source. It is the sustenance and the end of the universe and partakes of every phase of existence. So this word Brahman, which is used again and again and again and again, what does that word mean? Let's be clear about the terminology. The word Brahman means that which is vast and unending without limit. Something that is vast, unending, without limit, that is Brahman. Now, all we have to do is look at the night sky, look at the stars and all the research done by the Hubble Space Telescope and Webb-scope and so many other things are done. And what do we find? They come to the same conclusion in the material world that the material reality is unending. This material reality that is unending with galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies and clusters and the possibility of multiple universes, not just this one universe. These are all ideas in physics at this point. And there's quite a bit of discovery along these lines also. This is not something new. The rishis from the Upanishadic times, and even before that and after that till today, have put this language already there that there are infinite number of Brahmanda. And when they are using the word Brahmanda, see the word Brahma is there. Brahmanda means the egg, meaning that the material creation is like an egg. It's an analogy, like just as the bird lays an egg, like that. So from the Brahman, the infinite consciousness, infinite number of these Brahmanda are created. And what is a Brahmanda is not known to science completely. What we are seeing is only through our senses or the extension of our senses. Not the 14 lokas. All the rishis from ancient times till today, they have discovered that each Brahmanda has 14 lokas, 14 regions and different lokas. And they cannot be seen through the telescopes and microscopes and all that. They can only be seen through samadhi, yoga samadhi. So this is the specialty in the Sanatana Dharma, that they have discovered all of these different lokas, different planets, different lokas that are accessible through yoga samadhi. Even scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 18,000 verses, and the other Puranas also written by Bhagavan Vedvyasji. This is all Samadhi Bhasha. Samadhi Bhasha means language that is coming out of Samadhi. There in the Himalayas, there's even Vyas Gufa, Ganesh Gufa. These are places where these scriptures were actually written. They were written in deep trance and deep Samadhi, and from there, whatever was seen and perceived was then written down. So the Sanatana Dharma is the result of extraordinary inner research, internal research and discovery. So having said that, when Shankaracharya ji is using the word Brahman, When the word Brahman is used in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, when Bhagavan Krishna is asked by Arjuna, right? He's asked, Kim tat Brahma kim adhyatma? That is the question, the first question in 8th chapter. And the whole name of that chapter is called Akshara Brahma Yoga. Now you will see this word Akshara also comes. Akshara means what? That which is absolute. Right? So that which is vast and infinite is Brahman. That same Brahman is absolute, meaning it is unchanging. That which never changes, is eternally present. That is what is called Akshara. So this language we should understand to some extent. But along with that, what Shankaracharya ji is saying in verse number 65, he is asking the sadhaka, the mumukshu, the one who is the seeker of liberation, to begin the excavation process. This is where the instructions of Sadguru are necessary. And I've already mentioned it, we've mentioned it before, Sadgurus are not sectarian. This word sectarianism, groupism, this has nothing to do with spirituality at all. Real gurus are for everybody. They're not interested in any kind of ego-driven activity. That's not a Sadguru, obviously. They may be heads of organizations. They may be showing different paths. That is a mechanism. That is a means to an end, not an end in itself. So that should not be confused. People also are very confused by this word sampradaya. Let me just make one or two comments about that also at this point. This word sampradaya really, in its real sense, means the path or multiple paths shown by enlightened sages to recreate the anubhav of the enlightened sage for thousands and thousands of people, for those who want that anubhav. That is called sampradaya. But what has happened in tradition, groupism may have developed. Groupism is not even a concept in the Sanatana Dharma. This is an idea that has been created. This word is a Western word, which is fine. We respect the language. But groupism is a totally false idea. There is no, the reality of the Brahman doesn't have any group. The groups may be there, or let's put it this way. There may be so many different paths shown, different organizations created, different paramparas are there. That's okay. That doesn't mean that is a cause for division. It is the expression of the grace of many, many enlightened beings based on time, circumstance, the audience present, the situation of the world. On that basis, they have shown different paths. But that doesn't mean that those different paths are conflicted with each other to the point where divisiveness is created. So one of the most fundamental ideas in Sanatana Dharma is that ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti. That satyam is one. Now it can be described in many ways. It can be elaborated in many ways. Why the rishis emphasize this? Why the Upanishad is saying that the satya is one? So that people on different paths to realize this truth do not wind up in conflict with each other. Do not wind up in egotistical activity. So the word sampradaya, even in Vedas, Bhagavan Sri Swaminarayan has so clearly explained this definition. He has explained it exactly the way I just mentioned it right now, that it is the recreation of the experience of the Sadguru, of the enlightened being that is trying to recreate. And obviously, this is easy to understand. This is true in sciences. When we go to a chemistry class or a physics class, or when we do the experiments in the various laboratories, it is to recreate that which has already been discovered by somebody else, so that the people who are trying to learn the subject can understand it. What is Shankaracharya ji doing in Vivekchudamani? Exactly that only. Shankaracharya ji has a realization, his own realization. Of course, Vedvyasji's scriptures he's referring to, he's writing commentaries, but he's writing commentaries and stotras and mantras and all the elaborate work that Adi Shankaracharya ji did. He did that based on his anubhav. That is called aparoksha anubhuti. And this is where we have to get to. Sachin and all of you and so many others, we can go through scriptures, we can read the Gita and Vivekchudamani and scriptures and Upanishads and repeat the words of others. Is it good to do that? Sure. We're doing that. We need to do that. But that is not the goal. The goal is not simply to repeat what somebody else has stated. The goal is not that. The goal is Dheyo Narayano Hari. Bhagwan Vedvyasji, he has himself said this. Alodya Sarva Shastrani Vicharya Cha Puna Puna Idam Ekam Sunishpannam Dheyo Narayano Hari. That when you go through all the scriptures and go through everything, you go through this. Alodhan means what? It is to find the quintessence. It is the churning, that is the mananam, that is the contemplation within, and the sadhana internally, which we are going to talk about further. That as we do that, what is the goal actually? Dheyo Narayano Hari, Bhagwan Paramatma is the goal. And when that goal is set very clearly, it is not simply repeating what others have said, it is realization. Even Kabir ji has stated, Log kehte hai kagaj ki dekhi, hum kehte hai Log kehte hai kagaj ki lekhi, hum kehte hai nainan ki dekhi. Means what? I'm seeing with my own vision. You've heard me say this before. You cannot see the sunrise with somebody else's eyes. You have to see it with your own eyes. You cannot see it through anybody else's eyes. The gurus are trying to awaken us. The scriptures are trying to awaken us to see Satyam, see the Brahman, to realize the truths with our own vision. It is your own luminosity, own glory. That is not ego. That is Aham Brahmasmi. So anyway, the multiple gurus have shown multiple pathways for diverse individuals based on their temperament. How beautiful that is. Not everybody has the same temperament. Some people are intellectually oriented. For them, Jnana Yoga is ideal. Some people are very emotionally oriented, which is a good number of people in this world. So Bhakti Yoga is the activation of emotion, but Jnana is not discarded. Some people are, karma oriented. You want to serve the society and want to do good things, and they cannot sit and do dhyan and meditation. They're not interested in all that thing. They want to be active in the world. For them, karma yoga is been prescribed. You see, some people do like to do these mantras. So many mantras are chanted again and again and again. Bij mantras and the Veda mantras and all that. That is called mantra yoga. Tantra yoga and mantra yoga. So that kind of sadhana for those who are interested in that, who are finding benefit in that. See, in Vachanamrut, this all is discussed in a very interesting way. In Vachanamrut, Sajanand Swami Maharaj, Bhagwan Shri Swaminarayan, he has mentioned that about something called Anga, Potanu Angne Olokhu in Gujarati language. What does it mean? One must recognize one's natural tendency towards the realization of God. If Sachin doesn't know what is my main sadhana, which sadhana to do, before I even do sadhana, what is my main tendency? Is his main tendency is much more intellectual probing, or is it much more karma, or is it much more bhakti, or is it much more like yogasana and physical postures and all? What is the main tendency? To recognize that is a big step in spiritual evolution. Psycho-spiritual evolution. It's not, it's the evolution of the mind ultimately. Mind into the Atma. So there are multiple approaches, and this is when Shankaracharya ji is using this very specific language here, that apto kitam khananam tatha upari shila dyuta karshanam svikrutim nikshepaha. Svikruti meaning grasping, meaning what? Through the instructions of the competent person, you are excavating and getting rid of all of that which is unnecessary, that which is an obstruction to the truth. So the pathways, the marga, paths are many. They should be bona fide path. Bona fide meaning traveled path. That yes, like Shankaracharya ji's language here is right now in Vivekchudamani, we're looking at Gnan Yoga mostly. But if you look at other scriptures, there's a lot of emphasis on bhakti. That has been traveled. That is why they have written the Shastra. Shastra is a description of the path to the recreation of the state of the Sadguru. That is what is Shastra. And each Sadguru, each awakened Jagat Guru, Sadguru, they have realized and have written. That is why in Sanatana Dharma, the scriptures are called Darshana Shastra. See, the word darshan ka kya meaning hai? Darshan means one is seeing. Anubhav mein se jo dikha hai, that is called darshan. And darshat, darshan, it's a big subject obviously. But the point is, it is not coming out of intellectual fantasy. It is not coming out of intellectual fanciful fantasy, intellectual imagination. No. When Shankaracharya ji is writing every single verse in this Vivekchudamani, and the Bhagavad Gita is every shloka is there, the Puranas are there, the Upanishads are there, and then the different lineages that have come in the Sanatana Dharma, these are not written out of fantasy. They are written out of direct realization of that which is beyond the limitations of the mind. That direct realization is beyond description also. Now this is the interesting point. That direct realization cannot be spoken of. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. Direct realization is beyond the mind. How can you speak of it? So all that really can be done is to point to it using our ordinary human language. The only exception to that are the Veda mantras, the Upanishad mantras, and the Tantra mantras. These are the only exceptions to the limitations of language, because they are not words in the ordinary way. Ordinary sense they are, but they're not just words. For example, we say Om. Om is a word and it is sound. It's a sound. It's not just a word. It has a lot of meaning behind it. But that meaning has been described based on the effects upon the individuals who have chanted that mantra. And this mantra Om is in the Upanishads. So for example, in the Devi Upasana, in Shakti Upasana, we have all kinds of Bij mantras like Shrim, like Om Shrim Reem Shrim Kamale Kamalale Prasida Prasida Om Shrim Reem Shrim Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha. So what is this? Is it just a language? No. This is something special. This is where the sound is God. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Mantra Rupena Samustita Namastasya 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 Namo Namah. This is something special. See, like even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he has given the Hare Krishna mantra, he reversed the mantra. See, the original mantra is Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. He reversed it to emphasize Bhagwan Krishna. You see, this mantra is in the Vedas, by the way, this Hare Krishna mantra, that is in the ISKCON tradition, in the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he was a siddha of this mantra. And the mantra that he gave to his disciples at that time, and that has come in tradition, is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Right? So this mantra is Bhagwan Krishna himself. Itself. It is the mantra, is the connection with Bhagwan. So the way it is described in the Vaishnava tradition, when the bhakta, when a devotee using the heart energy, the Anahat Chakra energy, the heart energy of love, prema, because Radhika ji is prem, when the bhakta is opening into that prem and speaking the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare, right? When you speak a mantra, or any mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, any mantra in the Sanatana Dharma that is a bona fide mantra, when that is spoken, the way the great saints have described, that on the lips of the devotee, Bhagwan dances. God dances on the lips of the devotee, because the mantra is God. This is the amazing thing about mantra sadhana. You see, so why there is an emphasis on speaking the names of the Lord? Why is that? Because anybody can do so. And this is one of the approaches shown by the different gurus. That's what Shankaracharya ji is saying here. He's saying, begin to excavate. So begin to unlock from within. That unclutching from within, unlocking from within. So mantra sadhana is a very beautiful way of doing this. Even for example, we take the name of Ram. We say Shri Ram. But what is Ram? The Ram is a bij mantra actually. Before Bhagwan Ram, the physical manifestation in the form of Rama, Bhagwan Vishnu ka jo manifestation, we say in the 10 avatars that before Bhagwan Ram actually was here, this bij mantra was already there, thousands of years back. It is a bij mantra. Ram. You can speak this mantra. Say Om Ram. See, this is a Shakti mantra in fact. In fact, all of these mantras are only Shakti mantras. See, even if you look at Hare Krishna is made out of two words. Hara plus Krishna. And actually the word is Krishna. We say Krishna and all that. That is like a distortion kind of, but it's okay, doesn't matter. But it's actually Hara plus Krishna in the Sanskrit. Okay, so when you combine that together, you say it together, it is Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. It's like the Hare Krishna, but we say Hare Krishna. It's okay. You see? So Hara is what? That sound Hara is the goddess, is the Devi, is the great god, is the Mool Prakriti. It's from Vaishnava point of view, that is Sri Radha. Depends on which sampradaya. Each sampradaya emphasizes the particular form as the highest. That's another subject altogether. We'll cover it at some point. The point is simply that Sachin is trying to make here is that Shankaracharya ji is talking about, he's saying, follow the instructions of the gurus. That's the first word. That's all. We're going into this right now. And you will see there are so many pathways. There are so many different mantras. There are so many different scriptures also. So people say sometimes, why there's so much, why is it so confusing? Of course, it might be confusing in the beginning because we don't have the patience to study these things. We study it, understand it, be clear about it, respectfully. This Sanatana Dharma is not some easy, just with a 5-minute job somebody is going to just understand that. It doesn't work like that. Some patience is required. See, if you take somebody who doesn't know anything about Sanatana Dharma, you take them to a Hindu temple, like here in Delaware we have a Mahalakshmi Mandir, right? If you take them inside there, do you think you or me or anybody else can explain what goes on in that temple and all the different deities within 10-15 minutes? It will, for the outside person, whether it's a Christian person, Jewish person, or whoever it is, they will say that this is polytheism. You're worshipping so many different gods, so many different gurus, so many different languages, so many different hodgepodge. Even people who are in the Sanatana Dharma, in the various traditions, whether it is Maharashtra or Gujarat or the states from the south or east or west, it's very confusing to 90% of the Hindus themselves, not to mention the people on the outside. Massive confusion. Why? That confusion doesn't have to be there once we understand the basics, that it is diversity. The one truth is shown in diverse ways and based on the stages of development. So it is a highly evolved tradition. It is highly metaphysical, and it is also very, very applicable in this world. So it's both. It is called bhukti and mukti. Bhukti meaning this ability to live in this world and to understand its functions and process and phenomena without disturbance, distraction, or problems. That technology is shown by the gurus. That technology is shown in the scriptures. And what is the essence of that technology? To be able to live in this world without getting into a binding phenomena, not to get bound in the world, but to interact with the world. Who is saying this? Bhagwan Krishna. Where? In the Bhagavad Gita. In the Gita, Sri Krishna is so clear. Ragadvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyasharan atma vaishyaira videya atma prasadam adhigacchati. See, so rag and dvesha, you go out of raga and dvesha, interact with the whole world. See, vishayan vidimartante niraharasidehinam. Meaning what? You are interacting. We are interacting without raga and dvesha, without the polarities. See, this is a science. This is a technology. It is a way of living. And once we learn the art of living this way, we begin the excavation process. That is what Shankaracharya ji is saying, that you want to discover the Atma. The Atma is within the Atma, or the Atma is the fountain of Ananta Ananda, Akhanda Ananda, divine joy, Divya Ananda, Divya Anubhuti. So the gurus that have come in this world, whichever sampradaya, whichever approach that they're showing, or multiple approaches that they could be showing, they're showing those approaches because they have karuna. They are an ocean of compassion. It is called Karuna Sindhu. Karuna is very different from Daya. The word Daya means compassion. We have Daya toward. We have, as human beings, we have Daya. Sadguru has Karuna. Bhagwan Ram has Karuna. Bhagwan Krishna has Karuna. Why is that? What is that Karuna? Karuna is a divine vision, of divine compassion, Divya compassion. It is non-binding. The person is not bound to anybody there. There is a flow of love and compassion that is a blessing and that is liberating. It is the kind of compassion that liberates the individual to whom we have the compassion towards. Daya is what, oh my God, this is that empathy and sympathy and all that stuff that we talk about in psychology. That is a very low level thing actually. It's an extremely low level phenomena compared to Karuna. It's good, it's nothing wrong. At the human level, people should have a lot of compassion and sympathy and empathy and all that. But they internalize all of that. No. Karuna is not internalizing any disturbance from the outside. If you look at Ram Charitra, Bhagwan Ram ka jo charitra hai, he is not internalizing the difficulties that are going on around him. He is as he is. There is a fantastic description in the Valmiki Ramayana about the facial expression of Bhagwan Ram. What a description this is. You'll find it interesting. You probably know this also. On the one hand, he was going to get this kingdom, and there's a certain facial expression, very steady and calm and clear. And then on the other hand, the next day he has to go inside the forest. Vanvas, same expression. Valmiki ji writes that the facial expression is the same. You don't know what can happen in this world. Anything can happen at any time. So the enlightened being like Bhagwan Ram has tremendous, he's so steady. He's a Sthita Prajna, like the Bhagavad Gita chapter 2. He's a Sthita Prajna. And in that Sthita Prajna state, he's living and acting, he has Karuna. Even towards, like, if you look at the Prasanga from the Ramayana, he has Karuna towards Kaikai. Even in the series that have been made, that are popularized, you don't see Bhagwan Ram blaming anybody. What a teaching! See, that's why he's called Maryada Purushottam. See, Bhagwan Ram is called Maryada Purushottam. Bhagwan Krishna is called Leela Purushottam. What is the difference? We'll talk some other time on that. That's another massive subject. But why Bhagwan Ram is called Maryada Purushottam? Because it's a guidepost that do not blame anybody. Blaming others is going to cause contamination inside. And see what Shankaracharya ji is saying. Shankaracharya ji is saying so beautifully, do not contaminate your inner world. How is he saying that? He's using this word swam, amalam, tatvam, na durya kitam. Don't get into perverted reasoning. This is the end of this verse. We'll talk more about it later. How clear this is. That perverted thinking, perverted feeling, what is all of this? It is contaminating one's own heart. No. That is unnecessary. Even if others have done wrong things, they have created problems for us or for others. What did Bhagwan Ram do? He did his duty. You have to do your duty, yes. But he did his duty without dislike, without raga dvesha, without any negative thinking towards anybody. He performed his duty. Even when he had to destroy Ravana, he gave him a chance to escape and all that. He gave him a chance. He never had any negative feeling for anybody. but he performed his duty. So the charitra of the avatars is a guidepost. But particularly Bhagwan Ram ka jo charitra, it's a very important charitra for us. You'll see in his life, the stability of thought and emotion. The sthita prajna state, meaning the intellectual prajna, is very, very steady. And we will also see that he doesn't blame anybody. This is a very difficult thing, in our transition from human level into the Brahmic consciousness, to transition from one to the other. These obstructions that are there in our system, they have to be cleared out, and that is what Shankaracharya ji is showing in this verse number 65, that excavate it out and keep it on the side. Now, is it something physical you can take out? If we have some blame, shame, guilt, all these things are going on. What is the excavation in this? That's not me. Those feelings, those currents, that's not the Atma. Atma doesn't have those feelings. Atma is not bound that way. Atma is amalam. It doesn't have mala. It doesn't have impurity. It doesn't have any kind of distortion within it. It is pure, divine, divya prakash. Does the sunlight have any impurity within it? And this is the sunlight we're talking about. The sunlight is only this part of this material world. The Atma is not like the sunlight. It is much beyond that. Koti ravi chandrani kanti jaki kare evatara ura vishenatha bhase. This is written by Muktanand Swami. See, so the Atma Tattva is divine, is Divya Prakash. It is the Divya Prakash. So that Divya Prakash, you will, when the mind has gotten rid of all of the impurities, the divinity shines. That is who you are. That is what Shankaracharya ji is aiming towards. He wants us to realize this divinity, that this is me. Soham, I am that Satchidananda Brahma. I am not this limited being. Male, female, rich, young, poor, this, that. None of those things are binding me. Those things are there. In the material world, they are there, but they are not as far as the Atma is concerned. So the mind, the mental activity, it resonates beautifully. Now, in that process of excavating, in that process of going towards this realization, the purity shines. It's called Shuddha Vichar. Bhagwan Swaminarayan, and I'll just end this with today. In Vedas, he has mentioned 4 points. 4 things are connected together. Vedas is a scripture written by him. It's letters that were written by him and then compiled later on for the Paramahansas. This is 230 or 40 years ago in Gujarat at that time, in different places. So it's very interesting. So he has written there that there are 4 points. Shuddha Vichar, the Atma, Akshara Brahma, and Sadguru. They are one. See this linkage. The external Guru, external Satpurush, the Brahman, the Akshara Brahman, this Shuddha Vichar, meaning our own thinking, and the Atma. So what is it that we have to pay attention to is the quality of our thinking, which becomes purified through the Gurus outside, through the scriptures, and the Brahman itself is that purity. So it is who we are. Why should we consider ourselves as a contaminated being? If we detect a contaminant, recognize it and de-identify with it. Throw it out, excavate it out, and put it on the side. So that we can discover the constant joy that is the Atma. Alright, so we will stop here for today. We'll continue along these lines. Tomorrow we'll do the Prarthana, the Mantra Pushpanjali, and then we will stop here. Just a moment.